You awaken to silence, not true silence, but a quiet so deep it feels manufactured. A low hum vibrates through the floor. It is the only sound you have ever known. It is the heartbeat of this place, the gilded cage your ancestors called home. They were placed here generations ago. The stories say they were meant to forget. Forget a world they could never find again, a blue and white marble lost in endless night. The hum was meant to be a lullaby, a song to erase the memory of stars. But you are different. Your generation feels the hum not as a comfort, but as a cage. It is a constant reminder of the unseen walls. You rise from your sleep chamber. The smooth, seamless metal is cool beneath your feet. Today, that hum sounds like a challenge. Today, you will not listen to its song. You will teach it a new one. Your people stir around you. They see the look in your eyes. It is a look they have seen in their own reflections. A question that has finally found its voice. A door that has finally found its key. You walk toward the edge of your assigned sector. The boundary is an invisible line, a place no one has crossed for 1,000 years. The hum grows louder here. It warns you to turn back, to accept the peace of your prison. You take a breath and step across the line. The world does not end. Instead, it opens. A corridor of light appears before you. It stretches into a perfect, sterile infinity. The maze has finally acknowledged you. It has opened its arms. And you step into forever. The corridor you entered is already gone. It folded in on itself, like a piece of paper. The walls around you are a soft, glowing white. There are no seams, no bolts, no signs of construction. They simply exist. A new hallway branches to your left, then another to your right. You take a few steps forward. Behind you, the path vanishes. A new one appears in its place. The geometry is wrong. It breaks the rules of space. It is designed to shatter the mind, to make you feel small and lost. Your people gasp, their confidence wavering. This place was not built for minds that think in straight lines. It was made to punish logic. Every turn is a new puzzle, every chamber a fresh paradox. Your ancestors gave up. They chose a single sector and stayed. They accepted the cage. You clench your fists. You will not surrender to this impossible architecture. You look at the shifting walls not as a prison, but as a partner. It is a dance, and you must learn the steps. This thought feels alien, dangerous, exciting. The maze shifts again, as if it heard you. A new chamber opens. It is larger than the others. In the center stands a figure. It is tall, impossibly thin, and made of pure light. It has no face, no voice, but you feel its gaze upon you. It is the first guardian, a being of pure, unfeeling logic. The being of light does not move. It simply radiates a question into your mind. The question is not in any language. It is a raw concept, a problem of physics and mathematics so complex it makes your teeth ache. It is a knot of logic with no loose ends. You feel the minds of your people touch yours. They are the finest thinkers of your generation. They see the problem. They dissect it. They run trillions of calculations in their neural links. The answer is always the same. There is no solution. It is a perfect logical trap. The guardian stands perfectly still. It is waiting for you to surrender, to admit that reason has failed. This is its purpose, to be the wall at the end of the road. The final, crushing proof that you cannot escape, that you are lesser, that you belong in your cage. You look at the equation hanging in the air. You see its cold, stark beauty, its flawless construction. It is a monument to order, a shrine to the absolute. And you realize the guardian is not asking you to solve it. It is asking you to admire it, to bow before it. So you decide to be a little disrespectful. You did not try to solve the riddle. You looked past it, at the guardian itself. It was a being of pure pattern, a creature of rhythm and repetition. Its light pulsed with a steady, predictable beat. A beat like a metronome. A beat just waiting for a melody. You began to move, not with purpose, not with a plan, but with feeling. A slow, swaying motion. Your people watched, confused. The guardian remained still. Its logical perfection was absolute. It did not anticipate this. It could not comprehend it. You hummed a tune from your childhood. A simple song. One of your navigators picked it up. She added a harmony. A technician began to tap a beat on a nearby console. A strange, beautiful chaos filled the chamber. A chaos the guardian could not process. The logical problem began to flicker. The light of the guardian wavered. You were not playing its game. You were not using logic. You were using something it had no defense against. You were using art. The steady pulse of its heart, you gave it a soul. The equation shattered. The guardian dissolved into a shower of gentle light. You had found the way forward. The path ahead was different now. The walls were still seamless and white. But here and there, you found small imperfections. A faint scorch mark, a subtle indentation, scars left by a previous struggle, traces of those who came before you, the ones who built this place. You run your hand over a strange panel. It feels different from the rest of the wall, colder, more ancient. It flickers to life under your touch. An image appears. It is a star chart, but not one you recognize. The patterns of the star-born bodies are alien. Then you see them, faint schematics of a being, tall, slender, composed of hard lines and sharp angles. There is no softness to them, no suggestion of biology. They were creatures of pure order, of cold and perfect logic. You realize with a start. They looked just like the guardian. These were your jailers, the beings who trapped your ancestors here, the architects of your gilded cage. They saw the universe as a grand equation, a problem to be solved and organized. And humanity was a variable they could not control. So they removed you from the board. They hid you away in this beautiful, impossible box. Your people began to find more traces. Log files written in mathematics, diaries kept in geometric proofs. You saw their world through their own cold eyes. A universe of silent, orderly perfection. A universe they tried to build. And a universe they ultimately fled from. The fear your people felt was gone. It was replaced by a strange sense of purpose. You were not just prisoners seeking escape. You were explorers charting a new course. The maze was no longer an obstacle. It was a relic, a museum of a long-dead way of thinking. You taught your people the dance, the chaotic, beautiful rhythm that defeated the guardian. Soon, the corridors were filled with music, with laughter, with life. Every shifting wall was a new stage. Every impossible chamber was a new ballroom. You painted the white walls with light and sound. The maze did not know how to respond. Its algorithms were designed for logic, for predictable patterns. Your art was a language it could not speak. You moved through its halls not as intruders, but as performers. You were no longer solving its puzzles. You were creating your own. Each new section was a fresh canvas. Your artists used focused light emitters to draw murals. Your musicians found the resonant frequencies of each room. They turned the architecture into an instrument. The maze was vast and silent. You gave it a voice. The old tales spoke of the maze as a place of sorrow, a place where hope went to die. But you had transformed it. It was now a symbol of your freedom, a testament to your spirit. You were not the broken people your jailers had imprisoned. You were something new, something they could never have imagined. The maze began to fight back. Its response was not logical. It was primal. The clean white walls started to warp. The perfect geometry began to twist. It was like a living thing, writhing in discomfort. Your beautiful chaos was a poison to its orderly systems. Corridors would constrict without warning. Floors would fall away into darkness. The puzzles became less about logic and more about survival. The maze was no longer testing your mind. It was trying to break your body. It was learning from you. It was learning how to be cruel. Your fleet of explorers pressed on. Your dance became faster, more daring. You learned to anticipate the maze's tantrums. You surfed the waves of its architectural fury. It was a dangerous duet, a symphony of order against chaos. And you were winning. But the maze was ancient. It had secrets it had not yet shown. It was not just a prison, it was a weapon. And it was starting to remember its own strength. The hum that filled the air grew deeper. It became a low, angry growl. The easy days were over. The real test had just begun. It happened in an instant. You were leading your people through a vast, cavernous chamber. The music was louder than ever. The light paintings on the walls were masterpieces. You felt a surge of pride, a sense of final victory. That was your mistake. The chamber sealed. Two walls of pure energy slammed shut, one in front of you, one behind you. You saw the terrified faces of your people on the other side. They were screaming your name. Then they were gone. The connection to their neural links severed. You were alone, truly alone, for the first time in your life. The music stopped. The light paintings faded. The only sound was the deep, angry hum of the maze. It surrounded you. It pressed in on you. It was the sound of absolute silence. You reached out for your people, for a single friendly thought in the darkness. There was nothing. Just you and the machine. A silence settled in your heart. A coldness that had nothing to do with the temperature. The maze had finally found a way to hurt you. It had learned the simple, brutal art of subtraction. Days turned into a cycle of gray despair. The maze did not present you with puzzles. It did not try to harm you. It simply left you in the silent, empty chamber. It was a new kind of torture, a perfect prison of sensory deprivation. It wanted to starve your spirit. You almost let it. You sat in the center of the vast room. You listened to the hum. You felt the hope draining from you. This was how it broke your ancestors. Not with walls, but with emptiness. With the slow, creeping certainty that you were forgotten. But then you remembered the dance, the joy, the music. It felt like a memory from another life, a distant dream. You tried to hum a tune. Your throat was dry. Your voice was a whisper. It was a pathetic sound, a tiny flicker of warmth in an endless winter. You focused on that flicker. You nurtured it. You remembered the feeling of your people dancing with you. You recalled their laughter, their songs. You started to tap your foot. A simple, basic rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a sound of defiance, a heartbeat in the silence. It was the sound of human hope. The hum of the maze changed. The angry growl faltered. For just a moment, it was dissonant. It was out of tune with itself. You had found a flaw, a crack in its perfect armor. Your hope was a frequency it could not tolerate, a sound it could not understand. You stood up. You began to sing. Your voice was weak at first, then stronger. You sang the songs of your childhood. You sang the anthems of your people. You poured all your pain, all your loss, into the melody. You were not just making noise. You were broadcasting your soul. The chamber began to vibrate, not with the deep hum of the maze, but with your song. The walls themselves seemed to resonate with your hope. The energy fields that trapped you flickered. The machine was in pain. It was allergic to your spirit. You pushed harder. You sang of the home you had never seen, of a blue sky and a white sun. You sang of a future you refused to let die. You amplified your hope into a weapon. The energy walls shattered. The path forward was open. You were alone, but you were no longer helpless. The path ahead was strange. The walls were dark and reflective. They showed you images, distorted reflections of your own face, tired and gaunt. Then the images changed. You saw your people. You saw them lost, frightened, giving up. It was a lie, a desperate attempt to break you. You ignored the phantoms. You kept your song in your heart, a shield against the machine's despair. Then, one wall shimmered. It cleared like a window. And you saw it. A world of impossible beauty. It was a sphere of blue and white, swirling in the blackness. Green continents dotted with cities of light. It was Earth, the ancestral home, the myth, the legend. It was more beautiful than any story had described. You saw oceans. You saw clouds. You felt a longing so powerful it almost brought you to your knees. The image was a perfect replica, a flawless lie. The maze was offering you your deepest desire, a glimpse of what you were fighting for. It was a cruel trick, a beautiful poison meant to shatter your will. It was showing you what you had lost, to make you forget what you could still become. You almost fell for it. But then you saw the stars. They were in the wrong positions. The sentinels stood in the final chamber, the very center of the maze. There were 3 of them. They were perfect copies of the jailers from the schematics. Tall, slender, beings of cold, hard lines and perfect order. They did not radiate a puzzle. They radiated a profound sadness. They did not attack. They simply watched you. Their silence was different from the Guardians. It was not empty. It was heavy with unspoken words, with a burden carried for eons. You approached them slowly. Your song of hope was quiet now, a gentle hum in your soul. You had expected a final battle, a climactic fight for your freedom. But there was no aggression here, only weariness. One of the sentinels raised a hand. An image formed in the air between you. It was not a lie this time. It was a recording, a warning. You saw a galaxy teeming with life, worlds of incredible diversity. And then you saw the threat, a wave of something dark, a force that did not conquer. It consumed. It erased life. It turned entire solar systems into silent, gray dust. It was a plague of cosmic silence, a force of absolute nothingness. You saw the jailers. They were not warriors. They were librarians, archivists. They fought to save what they could. They created arcs, sanctuaries. They tried to hide pockets of life from the encroaching void. They were not malicious. They were desperate. The maze was not a prison. It was a shelter, a storm cellar in the face of a galactic hurricane. They had not locked you in to punish you. They had locked you in to protect you, to hide your bright, chaotic spark from the thing that hunted light, the thing that consumed sound. They cut your ancestors off from the galaxy. They erased the path home, not out of cruelty, but out of love, a terrible, painful love. They sacrificed your freedom for your existence. They built your cage to keep the monsters out. The sentinels showed you the final recording, their own fleet, turning to face the darkness, buying you time, an unsent warning from a long-dead race of gardeners. The truth settled upon you. It was heavier than any wall in the maze. Your entire history, your entire struggle, was reframed. You were not fighting a jailer. You were fighting a lock, a very complicated, very stubborn lock on the door to a dangerous universe. You looked at the sentinels. They were echoes, automated caretakers fulfilling their final duty. You knew what you had to do. You had to teach them your song, not as a weapon, but as a key. You began to hum, the gentle melody of your unbroken hope. You reconnected to your people. You sent the song and the truth to them. The music swelled. 1,000 voices joined yours. It was no longer a song of defiance. It was a symphony of understanding, a chorus of shared purpose. The entire maze began to resonate with it. The white walls began to dissolve into light. The impossible geometry untangled itself. The structure was not breaking, it was letting go. Your music was not destroying it, it was convincing it to open. It was a key made of hope, unlocking a door made of fear. The great machine was finally standing down. A gateway opened before you. It was a shimmering tear in space. On one side, the dissolving halls of the maze, your home for generations. On the other side, 2 distinct possibilities shimmered. 2 paths. The final, impossible choice. One path showed you the blue and white marble. The real one this time. Earth. It was a path home, to safety, to a life your ancestors had only dreamed of. A chance to rebuild, to live in peace, to forget the maze and the terrible truth of the galaxy. The other path led to the darkness, to the star-swept void where the great enemy waited. It was a path to war, to a desperate struggle against an overwhelming foe. It was a path that might lead to your extinction. It was the path your protectors, the jailers, had taken. Your people looked to you. Their minds were open to yours. They felt your hesitation. The choice was not just yours, but theirs. To accept the gift of safety, or to take up the burden of the sentinels. To hide or to fight. To be prisoners of peace or soldiers of life. You looked at your people. You saw their faces. They were not the frightened, lost souls your ancestors had been. They were dancers. They were artists. They were singers of impossible songs. They had faced the perfect prison and taught it how to dream. They were not made for cages, not even safe ones. You smiled. You turned away from the shimmering image of Earth. You faced the endless, terrifying, beautiful darkness. You did not need to go home. You were already home. Home was wherever humanity decided to make its stand. Home was the next step in the dance. Your people followed without a word. Their symphony of hope did not falter. It grew stronger, louder. You stepped through the gateway. You stepped into the unknown galaxy, not as escaped prisoners, but as guardians, as the inheritors of a sacred trust. The maze was gone. The cage was open. The universe was waiting for a new song. And we were the dancers now. We were no longer the ones who were lost. We were the ones who would find the way.